Welcome back to the channel. Today I have the pleasure to be joined by my partner in crime, the other half of the Billet Media powerhouse of production excellence, Dale Roossien. So one of the things that Dale and I wanted to talk about today is the fact that we just made a movie. And if you've been on this channel before, you will know that our movie is currently on Amazon Prime, on Apple and a couple of markets, and on Tubi and some others. And so we made this movie based on an idea that Dale had, and we put this film together for a little bit less than $5,000.
You're a soccer mom. You don't know anything about cars. You drive a minivan, but you know what a Crown Vic is.
It's the last of the big V8 sedans.
The best vehicles ever produced by mankind.
We love our they Panthers.
Police either love that car or hated that car.
Mean looking cars and they're just fun to drive.
It's freedom, baby.
Freedom!
Exclusive Crown Vic clubs. If you'd have asked me about that 10 years ago, I would have said, you're out of your mind.
There's hundreds to possibly...
I want to throw it over to Dale, and now that we're kind of on the back nine, and we've been promoting the film and talking about the film, and production has wrapped, what are your immediate thoughts?
Immediate thoughts are, I can't believe I completed something in my life. That's one. Like, especially a big project like this. Usually, if I have to paint one wall, I'm dreading it and want to rip my skin off with my own fingernails. So to do something that took 2 years, 3 years probably, really, when you think about it, 2.5 years, was a great accomplishment. And having been able to kind of step out of it for a little while and look back at, or look more objectively, because we lived it for a couple of years, me specifically, but after editing it and now it's out there to the world, I have a different, nice appreciation for it now. I really think it's a wonderful little film and kind of fun and culty, and it's going to be one of those things that later on down the road, I think people are going to go, have you ever seen that movie Panther People? So especially in the car community, of course.
Right. Maybe we can talk a little bit about how the idea for the film came about, because I think that was definitely it was your idea, and you definitely had the the impetus to kind of get this started, and I think you also went way more down the rabbit hole than I did. I think when we first approached the Toronto P71 Crown Vic group. And they were kind enough to do that first initial meeting where we met a whole bunch of people. That was kind of the kickoff to this whole project. But it was really going down to Philly and meeting Greg and meeting Derek McCottrell and all of those guys that really kind of got you into the Crown Vic and the Panther community. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it was Donovan who kind of like sparked, my imagination with doing documentary on Crown Vics and Panther platform cars long before we'd even considered the idea of renaming the film Panther People from Crown Vic, America's Most Iconic Car, which was a great working title too. But anyways, here we are with Panther People. He told me a story about seeing a guy down an alleyway with a Canadian tuxedo lumberjack jacket on and smoking a cigarette and looking rather haggard and rough with a white P71 propane bush bar on the front of it and just all beat up, and the guy just had this kind of swagger to him. And Donovan mentioned to me, all these people who drive these old cop cars are all kind of like weird, strange people. You should make a documentary about, the weird people that drive those cars, because he was a fan of the cars way before I was. So that was like and then of course having a production company together and shooting all sorts of corporate stuff, it's kind of nice to be able to just like, pin our favorite passion projects, our ideas to the wall and see which one sticks. And this one stuck, right? we went with it.
Yeah, and I think that's that really is one of the things that allowed us to make this movie for what we made it for, and for as inexpensively as we did, because we already owned, we already owned all the cameras, we owned all the lenses, we owned, the production apparatus, and more importantly, we have a lot of practice producing things and going to places and setting up interviews and doing. Interview plus B-roll equals finished product. And I think that was really kind of integral to making this movie.
It was only a matter of time, I think, before we just decided to make a project that was going to be an all-in sort of project, right? And like you said, I went in like really deep with it in the sense of, well, just down to the logistics and geography of our lives. We allocated more time for me to go and interview people and travel, and of course it's a passion project too, right? Like if it wasn't for our wives, none of this would be possible anyways. So like shout out to for putting up with our dreams, and it's nice to be able to make some money in a corporate fashion, but then to just be able to like make a $5,000 movie, Jarrod. I think it looks like $1 million, right? But
yeah, and I think like
cheap.
a lot of that cheap. A lot of that is I think partly due to the fact that you can now walk into a Best Buy and put down $2,600 and walk out with what effectively amounts to a high production value cinema camera. Whether or not you're buying a Panasonic GH6 or as in the case of most of the film was shot on, or the camera that we used to shoot most of this film, the Sony A7S3. The barrier of entry is so much lower on modern cinema projects than it ever has been, and especially for documentary filmmaking, because you're not limited. I mean, part of the big cost associated with doing film production, film and video, TV production, is set building and paying actors. And we didn't have any actors to pay. We didn't have any sets to buy or to construct.
Before the 5D revolution, the Canon 5D Mark II or something like that revolution,
Yeah,
and
Mark II, I think.
Yeah, something like that with Magic Lantern and all that stuff. I mean, I got into that at the tail end of that. So now it's interesting actually though, because like editing the film, like as we were editing it, sitting there cutting, we had like obviously like boatloads of footage too, right? So looking at the footage and then trying to find the right moment for the story was like the right clip for the story that told the story the best. Kind of the more I did that, the lower and lower and lower was the, how am I trying to say this? I didn't require really pretty high-end 10-bit 4K resolution footage in my mind. I didn't try to find that footage to fit into the edit that told the best story. I was like, I don't care if it's grainy, if it was shot on an iPhone 4, it doesn't matter. If it tells the story best, it gives me an emotive feeling and it kind of pushes the story along. That's the most important thing. So
we used a lot of footage from all over the place, but we had that. We had your GoPro Hero 7, 8?
lot of iPhone footage.
iPhone footage, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I could go down the whole thing. Sony A7S3, and the lens kit was, I would say, 80% of it, 75% of it was the 24 to 70 G Master, with a ProMIS filter and an ND filter. And that was it, right? And a run and gun audio setup with either that little Rode top shotgun mic.
Yeah. The
only thing
wireless, sorry, not the wireless, the video micro.
That's right. That and Sennheiser wireless mics, and like no gimbal, barely any gimbal work whatsoever, pretty much all handheld. Yeah, and we used a little bit of vintage lenses. There was a Helios in there. There was a Canon 1.4 in there, and a few other lenses or whatever. But primarily just an A7S III, a phone, a GoPro, and a drone.
Yeah. And I shot in BC and in Philly. I shot on the Sony A7Siii.
See,
So we had a couple of
yeah.
segments that were shot with the C. Um,
Hmm.
you know, including one of the, I think the one of the most iconic shots in the film, which is
Yeah.
the
See, isn't that right? See, the shot
with the chalk and the exploding blue and
yeah,
the car in Lemon Hill. You know, it's just like, so it just goes to show you. I mean, that's
or,
a camera that you can
or
go, you can buy
yeah,
used for $1,500.
yeah, yeah. Well, it goes to show you that, like, also too, right? You could make something look good on 6-bit footage if you waited for the right light and you had a really nice composition and everything was framed up and the content was good and it sounded great.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a pinhole camera, right? If you get the right framing in the right light and the
Yeah.
right audio.
There's a YouTuber named Luke Forsyth who I quite like. Who he's a documentary filmmaker, and he does work all over the place. And for the last few months, he's been up in the Arctic. And I think one of the issues that I've always had with YouTube in general, especially in the camera and the production community, is you get a lot of people who, you know, just based on the time it takes to create YouTube clips and to create YouTube videos, can't possibly be doing a regular full-time job with the gear that they talk about using. You know, it's like, it's impossible. It's
Yeah.
just, you know, it takes 25 or 30 hours to put some of these videos together. So
I'm amazed when people drive trucks and they back up trucks full of rigs and you go, holy shit. And like Jarrod and I show up with a car and a backpack each.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, like, the fact that you and I had gotten used to, or so used to shooting, like, I was just thinking of the stuff we did for Autism Speaks Canada, where we went all over the country and we were really just traveling with carry-on
Yeah.
luggage. I think when you learn to shoot in that really minimalist style, using a lot of natural light, using a minimum amount of stabilization, using really, really tiny cameras and tiny gimbals and small lenses, it does teach you to be more not only nimble, but also to better respond to things as they happen, which I think loans itself well to the process of documentary filmmaking.
It's a car movie, you know, it's like, if people, yeah, it's definitely for a certain niche of characters, right? Like, you're not going to get, and the review, the sort of organic reviews from the community that we've been getting have been stellar. Like, I couldn't be happier for, like that, like, we made it for that audience in a way. It's kind of funny because, like, we didn't set out to make anything for anybody other than just investigate the idea of Crown Vics and Panther cars. And we came out of it, I don't know, almost having like the movie turned into a community movie. It's their movie that I knew things that we knew things that people wanted to hit on, like all the little things, like Marty Tunes and ADTR and, you know, everything that headlights and what people do to to the Crown Vics. And you start seeing trends and the type of outlaws and takeover, coast to coast kind of mental activity associated with Panthers, right? It was just kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I think that the fact that the movie is really about community. It's about people who are from all of these different walks of life who, have come together over this weird random thing, you know, a 12 plus year old body on frame V8 powered
average
car. Yeah, I mean, I think that most of the people who are in love with that car and from the community would argue that it's not an average car, that it's an exceptional car in a lot of ways, and they're right. But it also, you could argue that it is an average car in a lot of ways, and those people are right too.
At the end of the day, it's a cool movie, and I can't wait for us to kind of not only get it out there to people, because maybe, I don't know if we can talk about the process of getting it out there, because it's been kind of weird and murky and undisclosed for us as filmmakers, right? Like, the worst thing you want to happen is to not get your movie out there at all, get completely rejected, which we didn't, which is great. Amazon, Apple, Hulu, all these streaming services are starting to come online now, but nobody in Canada wants to take a nibble at it, which is like, the whole car is Canadian.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, case in point, and I think that this is kind of worthy of talking about, because the fact is that we have not had any real success in the Canadian film festival scene. Even in, I mean, I live in
We,
Burlington, you live in Hamilton. Even the Little Hamilton Film Fest, and
yeah,
I'm LinkedIn friends with one of the guys who organizes that festival.
sure.
And and even they took a pass on the movie, and admittedly they don't take a whole lot of films in, but I think that it's kind of telling that the only places that we've really had any festival success are the European festivals. So we had luck in Italy, we had luck in Turkey, we had luck in I think it was Slovenia,
Sweden.
Sweden, and nothing in our own backyard, or even in the communities where a
But
lot of the
yeah,
people that
but
we featured live.
not even so much the film festival, kind of that aside, like just the market in general is a little bit unusual to me, because I would think that America, Canada, Australia specifically, like, there's a lot of people who are interested in that kind of lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Car culture is a lot bigger in America. Well, it's big all over the world, isn't it? It's big in Europe
Yeah.
too, but it's perplexing to me that we don't have distribution in our own backyard right now. That's
Well,
all.
and again, I think that for anybody who doesn't is just kind of coming into the story now. So Dale and I used a film distributor called Film Hub, and the nice thing with Film Hub is it is, to a certain extent, a self-distribution platform where you take advantage of their relationships and their apparatus and their connections to both streaming services and four-walling. But what's interesting is there really is not a lot of feedback in terms of what the film is doing, or where it's being seen, or who's looking at it until after the fact, and they give you quarterly reports and say, here's your money, here's where it went, thank you very much. So it becomes a little bit difficult to market a film just because you don't know how it's doing, and you don't know what the audience looks like that's responding. So you can throw some stuff at the wall and hope it sticks, but for the most part, you just kind of you're at the mercy of who you think might like the film. So
For the minimalistic, only can have a carry-on size bag production, it's pretty damn good, and it's taught us how to be efficient filmmakers.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Sometimes to our, maybe, or not, man, I'll speak personally, but sometimes to my, it's not necessarily a good thing, and it's sometimes a negative thing, right? Because you're so used to setting up fast and go, 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 go. I did anyways. If I look back at making the film, like, there were some details that I wish I could have been a little more attentive to,
mm-hmm.
thought wise, audio wise.
But again,
But when you're in, it is what it is.
yeah, and video is problem solving. I think that's the main thing, is like you get to a situation and you have an idea in your head of what you want to capture and how you want to capture it, and then the realities of the situation don't always allow for your vision to transpire. Sometimes you need to make changes on the fly and change your approach, change the equipment you're using, do what you need to do to capture the images and help tell the story.
They take a beat. Oh wait, the lens is fine.
Yeah.
Still recording.
Still recording?
Yeah.
So record all that.
And I think that we were lucky in that we had been working with people who wanted to tell this story, who wanted to pay homage to the car, who wanted to be in the movie in the first place. So we didn't have any reluctant participants. Everybody who was in the film wanted to be in the film, wanted to tell their story, wanted to explain to a wider audience what this car has meant to them, and what the cultural touchstones are for this car in the world. I think of interviewing Joe Preston, the mayor of St. Thomas, who was at the time the federal MP who was trying to keep production, trying to get Ford to keep production in the St. Thomas facility. And obviously that didn't transpire, but I think that also adds an interesting intersectionality and dynamic to the movie, because we do look at, what the industry used to look like, what the people who worked in this factory, what are those people doing now, and what does the nature of work look like now? Because work has certainly changed in the time that since this car was manufactured.
And we scratched the surface of a lot of topics too, right? I think that we could have delved into, gang culture more probably, and like what drives young men specifically to want to, modify a shitbox car and drive around like a hooligan in the streets, right? Like,
yeah.
I want to do it, and I'm like 53 years old.
Yeah.
So like something there, right?
Yeah.
And I just sort of thought it was fascinating, that whole mindset of the freedom that a naturally aspirated V8 gas guzzling obsolete car is still like number one thing on the minds of certain people in America and around the world.
No, I think to wrap it up, I think that my takeaway from doing this film with you is that the secret, as it were, to just being able to make a movie, because I think a lot of people want to make a feature length film, and there is still significant barriers to entry. And you and I are lucky enough that we had the financial means to be able to spend the time to do this project, and then the skill set to be able to film it and to edit it and to put it together, that was born by the other work that we do in the rest of our lives. But the main thing is just grab a camera, any camera, and a microphone of some sort, and get out there and start telling stories. Start meeting people, figure out what you want to do, figure out the kinds of stories that you want to tell, the kinds of people you want to talk to, and just go talk to them and hear their stories and ask questions and meet people. And I think that was really, for me, that was the thing that made this movie so special, is all of the people we got to meet, and the lives that we got to experience. That, Dale in particular, you hung out with guys that living as a suburban dad in the greater Toronto area, you just would not have met if we had not done this film.
No, probably not. Not if yeah, that's for sure true. Yeah, you just got to get out there and do it. That's the best advice I would ever give to any young aspiring filmmaker, is to not think about anything. Actually, is to not think at all. The only thing you have to think about is how to use your gear and to just record everything, make it sound and look as good as it can be. And even if you don't know what the story is, like I can remember personally, like before I ever knew how to tell stories, I wanted to learn. I was more of the gear guy, right? I wanted to learn more about the camera and the settings, and how do I make it sound like that? How do I get a shallowed up field? So after 6 months, a year of practicing how to do that, that is ingrained in your mind, and you can sort of like then you can kind of move out there and start recording and shooting content and documentaries and working on your storytelling end of things.
Mm-hmm. And it's like even just the way we would set up interview shots, and then the B-roll that we would get to, because we know that, and this is something that they don't necessarily teach you in film school, but no matter how compelling or interesting your interview is, no matter how riveting the subject is, it's always going to be perceived as incredibly boring unless you have the right B-roll to back it up. You could be talking about someone who's just escaped, like the Von Trapp family, running through the cemetery at night to get away from the Nazis, and that's still not all that compelling a tale relative to showing something interesting. Some B-roll footage.
It takes a certain type of storyteller to just tell a story into the barrel of a camera, and that's it. It's
very rare. And in absence of that, just get some good B-roll.
Just get that B-roll. Sling your 120.
Sling some 120. Well, that'll about do it. I think if you haven't already seen the film, visit pantherpeopledoc.com. You can watch the movie. You can see some BTS footage, watch the trailers, look at some additional photographs. Do we have a mailing list? No, we don't have a mailing list. So don't bother getting on the mailing list. We don't have one. But there is links where you can go and actually watch the film. So if we've piqued your curiosity or interest, we'd love to have you watch the feature-length movie that Dale Roossien and Jarrod Stark made for less than 5,000 Canadian dollars. So there's nothing to say that you couldn't do the same thing. And hell, you could probably do it better and more creatively than these two old like us can do. So yeah, if you want to take a look at the film, we'd love you to do so. And that'll do it. So stay tuned. Keep tuned to the Billet Media channel. We're going to be interviewing a whole bunch of people who have done this kind of work and do other kinds of work in the film, television, media, and production business. So this is your jam. Then smash that like button. That's what the kids say. Smash that like button. That's what the kids say. Or don't. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah, you're gonna edit
yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, maybe.
You're gonna totally.
I might just edit all of this out. Smash that like button. Anyway. Or
no,
don't.
just go watch the movie at Panther People
pantherpeopledoc.com. Yep.
Yeah. Go watch the movie, pantherpeopledoc.com. Check all that stuff out. This was fun.
Good times. Thanks, partner.
All right. Ciao, my man.
Do this.